let's keep going with some DC talk. Let's talk Birds of Prey.
Is that not?
That's our show. Good night. Obviously, as we mentioned before, you're still playing Sonic, Barney. Friendly reminder, obviously, we're talking spoilers, blah, blah, blah. So all Joker talk aside, I loved this movie for what it was. I think Margot Robbie is still
There's a lot to love in this movie.
Harley
so
Quinn. She's clearly... You almost kind of forget with Suicide Squad kind of being considered mediocre. You forget how good she was as Harley Quinn.
I didn't even watch Suicide Squad. I love this movie.
I think Ewan McGregor was a very fun Black Mask.
I was like, Obi-Wan, what are you doing?
What are you doing? You're
Be
so
a good boy.
I loved it.
He plays psychopath too well.
I think it's an enjoyable standalone story, and hopefully it can lead to more Birds of Prey films where even it's not necessarily using Harley, but it's just using Huntress and Renee Montoya and Black Canary. I personally am a big Rosie Perez fan ever since her film, or the film that she was in with Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing.
It's a very Rosie Perez role too.
I definitely, and that's fine. I also just love her as a dancer from her choreography days for In Living Color, Jim Carrey's first starring vehicle, where he got really his big break. So I am a big fan of her. There's a lot to enjoy, and I'm sure there's some more things to dissect, so why don't we just dive right in. Amber, why don't I start with you in this case? You've seen Birds of Prey.
I have, yes.
Give me your thoughts, hon.
I absolutely loved it. It was beautifully shot. Like, I loved that it had, like, that comic book feel, like, that classic. Like, I loved the slow motion scenes. All of them were just so perfect.
Oh, man. So imaginative.
I loved, like, the character progression and, like, that it wasn't too quick. Like, they didn't just, like, yep, this is this person. It was, like, nice, and it was just slow enough that I have zero complaints.
And it was
about that
nice
movie.
that it kind of gave the audience as well to rediscover Harley Quinn, like
Right.
In a small way, a soft reboot,
right?
In some ways,
Yeah.
which I liked.
Going off of that, I actually really love the comics, the New 52 comics. I haven't been reading them recently, but this, like, the way that this movie started was the beginning of the New 52 comics. Like, she has the beaver, she's got the hyena, she's in the little loft apartment above the... Oh, man. There are so many nods, like the roller derby, all of it. Like, it made me, my little nerd heart, so happy.
What's interesting about that, it's funny that you mentioned that, because now, if we're going to take, going back to an old topic here, if we're taking Crisis on Infinite Earths, the TV crossover, if we're taking that into account, it almost it can reset any given universe that it wants to. So I like to think that now, as we're moving forward with these slightly different stories than what we had previously, like a new Harley Quinn-ish, I feel like the DC TV crossover continuity plays into that. Yeah. Especially since we had Ezra Miller's Justice League Flash be a part of that. So I'd like to think that maybe this form of TV continuity in some way, story-wise, impacts why some of these characters have changed, particularly that of Harley Quinn. So I just find it interesting because you say New 52, and that came directly from a continuity mix-up to try to do things over again. So I find it interesting that you mentioned that. I love the New 52
Harley. Like, I've been a fan of Harley since she first showed up in the animated series. She's an amazing character, but
in a
like
bad relationship.
Oh yeah,
and luckily
another one of those. You can't change
right.
them.
You can endorse the character, just not the relationship.
Problematic relationships aside,
so
great characters.
That's part of why I love her new self so much, is because it's breaking that.
Dating Poison Ivy and just like being her own
like that's
woman.
canon.
Yeah.
Like they are actually like they're basically polyamorous too, because like there's just so much good about the new Harley that I just love her so much.
No, absolutely.
It's fascinating to see how she's grown since her first appearance. I mean, it's always nice to see when characters from the shows like bleed into the comics. Like now she's just as much a part of Joker as Joker is himself, and she's only been around for like 20-30 years now.
Right.
Isn't it remarkable?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It really is a one-off character, really.
They were just like, yeah, let's sprinkle her in here, see what happens, and she blew up like so much that she's finally like her own person now, and it's insane.
It's amazing. We should have a whole separate episode just talking about what the animated series has done for DC continuity in regards to.
I got to rewatch some of it to really get my appreciation back for how wonderful it is.
So I have a lot of it. Just saying.
What was it? One thing that really struck me is that it wasn't an Avengers team up. Not at all. It was really a Harley story that happened to feature these other characters. Like I think there was a moment where it just cut to Cassandra Cain's story. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking Huntress. Not her. What do you call it? And I remember being like, oh, right. Yeah, this is Birds of Prey. Right. There's more than just Harley. Because it does feel like a Harley story up to that point. One thing that I thought was really cool, which was not my own thought, but once I saw it, I had like listened to a review podcast and then watched the movie and was like, yeah, this is spot on. The fight scenes are so well done, and it's not even about how they're shot. As I was about to say, it's more about how they're choreographed because
prep. Prep important?
I'm not going to be sexist here, but I think that women don't fight like men, and I think that a lot of action movies where women are fighting alongside men, like Marvel has this problem too. Scarlet Widow, Black Widow is the only Scarlet Widow crossovers come and let you on. Black Widow is one of the few who doesn't have that problem. You know, like if you're a woman, your body is differently shaped than a man, and like a man has a lot more weight behind them, so you have to use that weight to your advantage. You can't be like sparring and punching the same way that a man does. And like that's not to say that a woman can't kick a guy's ass, because I've definitely seen plenty of evidence of that. But that's the thing, in this movie, there's a lot of ladies kicking a lot of dudes' asses.
Well, you had a creative
Excuse
team.
me, that's twice now. I'm trying to keep myself under
money
control.
in the jar.
Yeah. All right, where is it?
You had a creative team that kind of knew what they
Understood.
were working with, that understood the material and understood the actors that they were working with.
That one moment where Harley just gives
The hair tie.
hair clip.
Hey, you need a hair tie? She's need a hair tie? She's
Oh,
like,
it's
oh
like-
yeah, thanks.
That's exactly what would happen. I
Exact-
love that.
yeah, it's-
yeah.
Now,
It's so-
to actually,
so well done.
no, definitely to go off of the point that I actually just made, which brings up an interesting point. Now, Cassandra Cain is clearly not our Cassandra Cain Batgirl in this case.
No,
It's-
very different interpretation.
Do you think that this is a different character that just happens to have the name Cassandra Cain because they could, or do you think that maybe you could see her?
I don't know enough about her to say.
Do you think this girl could become a Batgirl?
No,
Yeah.
pressure,
Yeah,
Jack.
could I see
I
this
could
one?
see that.
Yeah, I could probably.
I could see it. I feel like it would be it'd be definitely different to have her turn into that, but I could see them
Well,
working
clearly
it in
soft
there.
reboots work in regards to Hulk and Thor, as I've mentioned previously.
I could see them working
So-
in there.
Yeah. I think the dynamic between them all was really good. I really like. There's a lot of criticism going around that Harley Quinn is basically just, this movie is just Deadpool with Harley Quinn instead. I see
Well,
it,
I mean,
but I think it
they
works for her character. I don't
renamed
agree
the
with that
title
criticism.
Midway through release of the film, they changed it from Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn,
Which
changed
has-
it to Harley Quinn Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Literally on the AMC.
Well, that was because of
things
search
itself.
results were hard to find for.
Well,
one
exactly,
versus
and
the
people
other.
just didn't know what they were seeing. I just find it
was a
incredible that
weird
they
title.
changed the title of their film while the film was out.
But I think
that
that
was pretty remarkable.
It worked for her character. I think that she, as a scatterbrained person, would tell a story in a scatterbrained way. You know, like there's a little bit of that.
I
Let
love
me
that she
back
didn't
up.
say it in order. I love
Yeah.
that she kept backpedaling.
Yeah, like it was funny because like she did it multiple times,
Yeah.
right? Like if she had just done the let me rewind and then hear the VCR sound, which kids today probably don't know what the hell that means,
Yeah.
and just
What
see
is
that
this-
as a
what is
device
this
as
device,
rewinding.
Mom?
But they don't.
They do that so much in so many
Yeah,
films. So I
yeah.
love that she did it more than once because it just
It's about her
it ju-
character.
right?
It's
It
still-
just
still-
shows how
Unreliable narrator.
yeah.
Yeah.
It just shows how like scatterbrained she is because she's gone nuts.
So she's-
story all wrong.
She's going to be in Suicide Squad 2.
Oh, she
titled
is?
The Suicide Squad.
She is-
yeah,
she-
with James Gunn directing.
Because I
and a
really
whole
like her.
big
I
cast.
really like how
Big
she's
cast.
interpreted Harley
so
Quinn.
good.
She does not have as high pitch a voice as the original actress whose name is escaping me. She has done so much for that character.
Yeah, right.
But she, has the accent enough and like makes it work in a more lived. And again,
It's-
cartoons are when they're as big as they are in a cartoon in real life. It's like getting a stage actor on a film.
Right.
They're gonna act way too big, and you're gonna have to bring
Don't
them
do
down.
it. Do not do it.
Yeah, don't do it.
I
Or-
think it works better for the fact that she's not like. I mean, like Tara Strong. I love Tara Strong and her lovely Harley Quinn voice, and she does so well with all the video
Which
games
one does she
and all
do
that.
again? Is it like the
she
new
does
stuff?
like
The Arkham games.
yeah, she does like all the
basically.
Arkham games.
Really?
Everything
She
like
totally
after the
fooled me.
animated series basically was her.
Because like
She does an amazing job. She's fantastic,
I
but
think
She's a
she
great
took over
actress.
for the original voice actrors. I think she came in with City and just went off after
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
yeah, basically she's been the Harley Quinn since then.
like
Wow.
I absolutely adore her. But like coming from cartoon to human, like real people, she needed that like little different. Like I feel like if she sounded like that as a person, everyone would hate
Yeah.
her.
I actually never really felt like Margot Robbie was toned back in any way. I still felt like it was
I feel like
naturally
it's-
high voiced.
I don't understand why anyone does like her.
Just right.
But I
she's
never
such
felt
a
like
pain
it was
in the
toned
butt.
back.
I don't know why anyone does like her
Harley?
in character. Everyone's like, God, I hate you. Like you're so annoying. Why do you do this?
Yeah.
You're such a pain in the butt. And she's just like, no, but you love me. And like it's true.
But you know you love
It's
her.
tr- you're like, you know what? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's what she like. People wonder why is she on the Suicide Squad in the first one? It's because she brings the team together. Not really, but she does.
Well, yeah, no, I had no problem
She's
with that.
basically
She's a
the
morale.
comic relief.
Yeah, she
I'm
keeps
actually
them
kind of
all on-
happy that they are bringing her back for the sequel
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
not make it like the first one sucked. Now we're
Have you
just gonna
seen
start
the
from
Assault on
scratch.
Arkham cartoon?
Yes.
That is like the Suicide Squad Assault on Arkham, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, it came out. It was trying to basically promote,
which I thought
Suicide
was
Squad at that point.
objectively better, and Harley was part of that team too, and like it just overall flowed as a better story. It had the Joker as a central
Well,
villain.
DC's animated team has clearly proven that they know how to work with these characters time and time again. Sometimes they falter, but
DC
clearly,
just cash in on the TV business.
I'm telling you,
Seriously.
man. I'm telling you, they're getting there with their films, but Warner Brothers needs to understand that your television team in animation and in live action
Is just
clearly understand their characters.
Yeah.
And these same types of people work on the Marvel films.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to figure out what's going on, you have people that know and care about these characters, and you're hiring artistic people like Zack Snyder who
Yeah.
want to reinterpret the characters and not take the characters from the page to the screen.
Well, these things have been around for so long that we now have like honest to god fans who are the creators now.
Yep.
Like Stephen Moffat on Doctor Who, and so
J.J.
many
Abrams with
Star
Star
Wars.
Wars,
Star Wars,
Star Trek.
Kevin Feige, all of them, like they grew up with their Star Wars action figures, and like now they get to be the creators, and it's interesting how that shapes how what they expect. Like this is what I want as a fan, and how that doesn't always line up.
Right, and they had Jeff Johns to really be in that position, but they just didn't really. I don't think they wanted to relinquish the control.
Well, I think they were
Over.
just trying to catch what Marvel has done, and but do it darker because of how well received the Nolan trilogy was. But they didn't really see what the Nolan trilogy was trying to do.
No, I think they were just happy with the credit that they were getting, and
Yeah.
I think they're trying to take the credit now rather than just give it over to somebody.
Also,
who
Zack
knows what they're
Snyder
doing.
knows how to shoot a comic book movie, but I don't think he knows how to direct one. I'm just going to say it.
That's a very fair comparison. I don't think any of his work is bad, but you never should have given one man all of this power with 3 mediocre financially films.
Watchmen,
with 300
okay.
and Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
He did all of
Sucker
those.
Punch is bad.
He got that before Man of Steel is what I'm saying, and they
Right.
hired him to be the architect of this franchise.
I think
and
they
I'm
did it
sorry, if
based on
financially he's not
Watchmen.
giving you the money, then why would you hire him to be
I
your
agree.
god in this franchise?
He missed the point of Watchmen in terms of how to like do like he made the fights too act like Avengers-y, which hadn't really come out yet. But like Watchmen's a gross, gritty comic, and while
Yeah.
he was able to shoot it panel for panel, he still somehow missed a lot of like what made it integral to the story.
Yup.
Why Watchmen was being told as a story anyway.
Right.
I didn't.
And
I didn't get that Watchmen vibe of what I loved about the comic. I enjoyed
Yeah.
the movie, but I did not get.
These are supposed to be broken heroes who
Yeah,
are like
I
really
did
bad
not-
and
I
like
did not
Night Owl
get
is
that
overweight and gross and
It's
they're not
because-
it's kind of
supposed to be
They
good
just
at
kind
feel
of
it's
bleak.
supposed to be so like raw.
Yeah, it's
And
Just-
this
bleak.
I
is
feel
who
like
they
it felt,
picked.
it felt too put together.
Yep.
And it's who they picked to oversee their franchise, and you wonder why you guys have been trying to play catch up all this time because you never had the right person in place. It's good to have someone in place,
Yeah,
but you
someone has to
also
be.
need the right
Yeah.
person to lead your projects, which is how Kevin Feige got to be in his position and why you guys are still looking for that number one figure to oversee everything. You had that in Jeff Johns, and somehow that didn't work because he felt inspired to go back and do more writing things rather than oversee everything. So I don't know what the problem is, Warner Brothers. Even though these solo projects have been good, with Joker, Birds of Prey, certainly Aquaman being the biggest DC film of all time. Whoever knew that would happen. I loved Shazam a lot, as we've mentioned in previous videos.
good.
But
I still have to see Shazam.
You
Thank you
need-
for reminding me.
I haven't seen
course.
Aquaman, so
Shazam's
Yeah, I hear that
dope.
one's less of a draw.
yeah.
I don't know.
Shazam was amazing. though.
Shazam's really good.
Shazam to me was.
I
the
haven't
best.
seen
It was
Aquaman
absolutely
yet.
amazing.
I'm going
hyped.
to.
It
But
was so
you
good.
need, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily, if you don't want to work towards an interconnected universe and stuff, all right, that's fine. That's your choice, even though I want another Justice League shot. But
Yeah, I'd be down for another Justice League.
but you have to you need to have some type of plan in place because you have all these characters, and eventually they should just kind of come together, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
Aven-
mean they're in the same universe.
Avengers waited
Right.
until everyone had their own movie and had been well established and sprinkled enough to keep them going.
I was
Yeah.
actually okay with Warner Brothers' initial approach of jumping into the crossover, me personally.
Because Batman versus Superman basically became a big trailer,
Yes, and I understand.
a very up its own butt trailer.
I get that. I don't think that was
Yeah.
the right way to go about one movie, just shoehorning everything in. I was okay with not having another Batman movie devoted to that Batman before getting to Justice League. I was fine with that. I would have been okay with a Wonder Woman movie and maybe a Flash movie before getting to this Justice League.
It's a big problem with modern franchises. It's in the same way that there's all this thing about big problems with network television writing. there's this big problem of like, listen, we're just going to try and pack as much as we can, and we want to advertise for the next thing that we're doing. You know, like, hey, listen, we know we already got you in the seat for this, but wait till we do the next thing. And it's like, just make the thing I'm watching right now good, and I'll be happy for whatever the next thing. I don't need to be promised on something later.
Do you think that DC would have been criticized if they did in fact follow the Marvel mold and do origin films leading up to? Don't you think people would have said, "Oh, they're just cashing in on Marvel's success"?
If it had been no, because they already criticized them of that. They just failed at it. I think if they had done well and taken their time, it wouldn't have mattered because they would have been making the same success. It probably would have oversaturated the market a lot sooner.
Probably.
Yeah.
Who knows what it would look like in that? Someone has to come out on top. But I think it was foolish to try to cash in on that without thinking about how they got there. You know, they didn't earn it.
I agree. No, and I can agree with that. I think personally, I think Suicide Squad actually should not have been one of the films before Justice League. I was a little shocked to find out when they announced the slate: Batman v Superman. All right, we're getting the Justice League. Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that was
and then Wonder Woman.
With the Marvel phases, you could see where things were going. You know, like by the time you saw the after credits of Avengers, you're like, oh wow, okay.
I think if they had even just done if they had switched out Suicide Squad with Wonder Woman and one more hero, whether it be Flash or Aquaman or Cyborg, and I think they would have. I know. I think they would have picked Flash honestly or I think Flash would have been a better choice if they had done that. Even if you just did these 4 films leading up to Justice League, I think it would have done. I think it could have been a better final product rather than have a Suicide Squad movie that's already getting changed because of the problems with Batman v Superman by the general audience. Yeah. And then working in those script
maybe what if they're maybe trying to not be compared to Marvel by doing it that way?
No, absolutely.
Maybe they're like trying to weasel around it because they're trying so hard to not be Marvel.
Now they're over it.
Damned if you
now
don't.
Now they're
That's
over
been
it.
DC ever since BVS.
So like they should really just give in and just do it already. Just like
Just
everyone
do it.
already compares you to Marvel. Just exactly. Just
Night
do
to the
it.
dirty table. Hashtag just do it.